Hi guys, my name is Sabrina and welcome to my first YouTube video of 2026. You guys asked for it, so we gave it to you, okay? You guys wanted longer form content with more tutorials and a way that you can easily digest this information. If you're new to my page, my name is Sabrina. I run Business with SAB. So I think you guys have seen business without SAB. It's complicated, it's long, it's gate kept, but I want you to experience business with SAB, okay? Where we make education digestible, fun, and actionable. So if you're someone who is a small business owner or a content creator or an influencer and you're just trying to get a better understanding on A, ways that you can monetize online, B, ways that you can be smart with your money, right? Because if we're not investing, if we're not thinking about retirement, what are we doing? We can't just be thinking about the now, okay? I'm talking to my girls, okay? I love you guys, but I have to call you out. On Affirm and Klarana, like, we need to cut that out, okay? This is gonna be the place for you. Make sure you guys are supporting this channel. Every single week, we're gonna be coming out with a new lesson. Today's lesson is going to be about how you can start investing with little to no money, okay? I know investing can seem so difficult, so hard. There's so many loops that you need to go through, but I'm here to make this digestible for you, okay? So make sure you guys are following me, make sure you guys subscribe, and you hit that bell notification icon so you know when the next video comes. So the video that actually went viral for me, that really prompted you guys saying that you want long form content, was my video on how you can take $50 and take that to start investing in your financial journey. So some of you guys wanted a longer, more broken down version of it, and this is exactly what it is. So the first step that we need to do, guys, is we need to start with some income. Now, I know in this day and age, it can be a bit hard, right, to have that extra money aside to invest or to prioritize it, but this is why I wanted to make this easy thing for you guys to follow, okay? You can start with as little as $50. The thing I want you guys to do is to find a high yield savings account. What is a high yield savings account? A high yield savings account is a savings account that you can get from a banking institution or a credit union. And the reason why it's called a high yield savings account versus a regular savings account is that the percentage yield, right? The annual percentage yield that you get in terms of interest is a bit higher. So most savings accounts that you have, let's say if you're with Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Navy Federal, whatever bank that you're with, most of the APYs for those typical savings accounts are less than 0.01%, okay? Meaning that yes, your money is going to be in a savings account and it's going to be safe, but it's not really growing, okay? We want growth. And when we want growth, especially growth in a short amount of time, that's when we start looking at high yield savings accounts, okay? High yield savings accounts, like I said, there are so many of them, but I wanna run through really quick some of the things that I look for when trying to find a high yield savings account. So that way, when you guys are trying to make this decision, when we think about a high yield savings account, the thing that I want you guys to really think about when trying to find the right one for you are gonna be a list of these criteria, okay? First is going to be the APY. APY stands for annual percentage yield, okay? We typically want to go after the ones that are the highest possible. Why? Because APY directly refers to the amount of money that you're going to be getting back in interest, yes, from your money sitting in that high yield savings account. So the higher the APY, the better. The next thing we want to look for is an institution that is FDIC insured. And the reason why I want to have this caveat for you guys is because oftentimes, yes, there are some institutions that may have a super, super high APY, but if they're a newer organization or a newer bank and they're not FDIC insured, you're then having a situation where you're putting yourself at risk, right? So we want to find that perfect in between. We want to find a high yield savings account that has a high APY as well as is FDIC insured. Typically, FDIC insurance goes up to $250,000 per person. Some institutions have higher FDIC requirements, but once you do your research, you'll be able to see which ones are which. Next thing I look for when looking for a good high yield savings account is going to be fees. You want to make sure that you're banking with an institution that has zero fees. And the reason why I say that is because everyone has a different starting point. Let's say you can only start with $50, or let's say you have more than $50 to start with, right? But It doesn't matter how much you necessarily start with. If you are getting tax fees, whether for withdrawing or putting money in, or even some high yield savings accounts have fees that occur monthly, that's really going to then defeat the purpose of the interest that you're getting. That leads me to the minimum balance requirements, okay? So you also too want to find a high yield savings account that has a $0 minimum balance. Again, because things happen in life, right? Maybe you could be starting off strong with your investing and you're putting in a lot of money, but then maybe you have to take money out. You don't want to be charged for not having money in there. The thing that I look for is a high yield savings account that is very online friendly, meaning that I can go on my phone, go on their app, add my money, take away my money without any penalties, easily, okay? You want to make sure that there is an ease for you with these types of situations. The thing to look for is, can you actually talk to someone at that bank? A lot of these online banks have great APYs, no fees, FDIC insurance, but if I can't get a hold of someone on customer service, if I have a question or something's wrong, that's an issue. So I always look for an institution that I know has a strong customer service and support system. Another thing I want you guys to look out for is promotional rates, okay? What are promotional rates? Promotional rates are, for example, what SoFi has going on right now. I personally bank with SoFi. They're where I have my high yield savings account. And currently right now they have a promotion till the end of January. If you guys would like my link to that, I'm going to link it below, but you don't have to use it. I do get a commission and you also too get paid for using that referral code. But that promotion is an example of what I mean by a promotional rate. So SoFi, typically the rate that you're going to have with them as of January 2026, it's going to be 3.3%. However, if you sign up with the promotion, you get money put into your account, but then you also too get that rate boosted up to, I believe, like 3.8% or 4%, right? For a specific amount of time until that promotion ends. So when we are looking at high yield savings accounts, make sure that the rate that you're looking at, that you're making that decision off of, is not necessarily based off of promotional rate, but the actual rate that there is. Another thing to look for that I don't see a lot of people talking about is compounding frequency. How frequent is this interest compounding for you, right? So let's say I have a 3.3% rate, but if it's only compounding yearly, is that really going to be as lucrative as, let's say, a high yield savings account that compounds weekly or daily? My hotties have their high yield savings account, okay, opened and picked, right? We're going to now go to the investing part of this. Now, remember, guys, this is not financial advice. I'm sharing with you guys what I have done and what has worked for me, and just the knowledge that I feel like is oftentimes gate kept in the industry. But now we're going to the investing part. I will give you guys a disclaimer. While you can start with as little as $50, that $50, some of the stocks that they want you to buy, they don't want you to do partial, okay? Meaning that if I'm going to, let's say, invest into a stock that's $500, I can't just buy it with this $50. I then have to just put that $50 away, okay, in that brokerage account until it compounds to that 500, and then I can take that and invest it and buy that one stock. The way that I always tell you guys to think of the brokerage accounts, right? Think of a brokerage account as where you are going to place your money, okay? So a brokerage account is a basket, and in this basket, I'm putting all of this money, all right? But guess what? The money is just going to stay there until I tell the money what to do. And that's when we get to what? Investing. And before we talk about investing, I want to talk about the different types of investing. So there's three most common types of investing that people know about. The first one's going to be a 401k. The second one's going to be a Roth IRA. And then the third one is still going to be an IRA, but a traditional IRA. So when we talk about 401k versus, let's say, a Roth IRA, for example, right? A 401k is something that is typically opened by your employer, meaning that you can get this at your job. And the really lucrative thing about a 401k that people love is the fact that with the 401k, your employer can oftentimes do a company match, meaning if you invest a certain amount of money, they'll match it up to a certain amount of percentage. So basically free money for you. Typically with a 401k, your money is going to be taxed later. So let's say when you come to the time for retirement, that's when you're going to get taxed heavily on that. We'll say with a 401k, the investing choices are a bit more limited compared to that Roth IRA or traditional IRA. The perk about this is that there are no income limits. So if you're someone who's watching this that is a higher earner, the 401k is always a really good option for you, especially if you have that employee match. And your annual contribution is also higher. So now that you get a little bit more of a clearer understanding of a 401k, now we can talk about a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. I also too want you guys to understand, if you're someone who has, for example, a 401k through your employer, I know you're probably thinking to yourself, Sab, but can I still have a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA? And the answer is yes, you can have both, okay? But let's get into the Roth IRA, okay? So the Roth IRA is one that I love, especially for my younger audience. So if you're someone who is like 18, 19, 20, 21, a Roth IRA is going to be your best friend. A Roth IRA is a personal retirement account that you open up, and with this personal retirement account, you're able to contribute a certain limit yearly to it and take that limit and invest it, okay? And so, for example, in 2026, the Roth IRA limit is going to be $7,500, meaning you can put $7,500 into your IRA today and take that money and invest it in whatever ETFs, bonds, or index funds that you want. The great thing about an Roth IRA is that a Roth IRA takes your pre-tax money, right? So the money that you already get taxed from your paycheck, you put it in that IRA. However, the biggest perk is that when it is time for your retirement, you are able to withdraw that money tax-free. Now, a Roth IRA, unlike a traditional IRA, does have more of income eligibility requirements. If you are someone who makes less than $153,000 a year, you're eligible to contribute the full $7,500 into your IRA. However, if you're someone who is making between $153,000 to $168,000 a year, you're only able to invest partially. And if you are someone who makes over $168,000 a year, you can't invest into a Roth IRA. That's when you're going to want to go the traditional route, okay? Now, the numbers I just gave you are for my single or head of household people. If you are someone who is married, these are going to be your numbers. So, married and you make less than $242,000 combined between you and your spouse, then you can invest the full amount into a Roth IRA. However, if you make anywhere from $242,000 to $252,000 altogether, you can invest partially, but not the full amount. Whereas if you make over $252,000 as a married couple, you cannot invest in a Roth IRA. So now let's talk about another type of IRA, okay? And this is going to be the traditional IRA. Now, the traditional IRA, there is a higher threshold for the income, right? So there's not really an income limit. I will say with the traditional IRA, the biggest perk of going the traditional route versus the Roth IRA, if you're eligible for a Roth IRA, would be that you get the tax savings now. So if you invest in a traditional IRA, let's say you invest the full $7,500, right? Then come tax time, when you file your taxes for that year, you're able to use that as a tax deduction. However, if you make a certain amount of money past a certain amount on a traditional IRA, you actually can't use it as a deduction. Okay. But typically for my people that are looking for tax relief now, the traditional IRA is definitely the route to go. Your money gets to grow tax deferred, not tax free. So the downside of a traditional IRA is that when it is time for you to take that money out of retirement, you are going to get taxed and penalized. Now that we know the differences between the Roth and the traditional, now we're ready to invest. So if you are someone who is eligible for a Roth IRA, what you're going to do is you're going to go to one of the 3 brokerage accounts. I always tell you guys, go with the big brand names, just because you know that they're tried, they're true, other people use them, companies use them, and you know that your money is going to be safe there. The big 3 are going to be Fidelity, Schwab, and Vanguard, okay? Now, remember, when you go to open up that IRA, unless you want that traditional IRA or you don't meet the requirements of the Roth IRA, you're going to then go and open up a Roth IRA application, apply for that. They're going to ask you information like your first, last name, social security, driver's license. They're going to want to know your tax information, where you work, apply for that. Once you put in your application, all your information, you're approved for your account, that is where the fun part starts. However, if you can only start off with $50, just start off with $50. Put that money into the IRA. Remember, the IRA is like a bucket. So every time we're putting money into it, right, it's just holding our money like a little baby. It's holding it, okay? But it's not gonna do anything until we tell it what to do and we tell it what to invest in, okay? So when it comes to investing your IRA, I always tell you guys safe is good. Remember, this is not financial advice. I can only share with you guys what I do. So this is what I do with my personal IRA. Guys, the core, low cost, diversified funds that a lot of investors love to have as the backbone of their IRA. Remember, this is for retirement, so you're not going to touch this money for like 50 plus years. So having something that you're going to invest in that doesn't have a lot of volatility within the market, that can stay firm in terms of that constant growth, is going to be your best friend. So the very first thing that I would tell you guys, if you're looking for an investment, not financial advice, but I typically go towards like the US total markets, okay? So what's an example of a US total market stock or ETF? So US total market ETF would be the Vanguard stock market ETF, VTI. And this covers nearly the entire US from large to mid-sized businesses. So basically, if the US is doing well in terms of just financially, throughout all of the businesses and industries, this is going to go up. This is a safe bet to invest in. This is called VTI. Then I would go to something Vanguard S&P 500, VO, top 500 companies within the US. And as long as those top 500 are doing well, you can expect some type of growth. Someone who is trying to get a little bit of international exposure when it comes to diversifying your income and your portfolio, one is going to be our Total International ETF. And so this is going to be VXUS, I believe. Thing that can boost growth of your portfolio but have a little bit slightly more risk are going to be things like the Q Trust. This tracks the NASDAQ 100 tech heavy companies, meaning the 100 tech companies that are to be basically being looked at and doing the best are the ones that they want. Basically, the QQQ basically tracks the 100 like best tech companies. Now, because of that, there is a little bit of volatility because as technology and tech advances, there are some things that are going to keep doing well, and then there's some things that are going to do bad. But because it covers a broad range, there is going to be a little bit more volatility than those safer ETFs, but there still is going to be a good amount of retired growth ETF. Now, this one is going to be focused on when it comes to investing your money, only you can make the right decision for you. These are stocks and ETFs that I have invested in throughout my career. This is not financial advice, but this is what typically is doing well. And when you're trying to really build stability, especially for retirement, you want to make sure that you're investing your money in things that are safe, things that are going to give you those steady returns. Remember, we're not touching this money for a while. Right? Now, there are also two other things that you can invest in. So there's like bonds, there's like mutual funds, there's individual stocks as well, but those are going to have a little bit more volatility. If you guys want a video completely on that separately, I can make a video on that. But this is it, guys, right? So this is all of the information, all of the questions that I feel like I've been getting in that last video that I've tried to answer here. Now, of course, I'm not perfect, so if I missed anything or if you would like me to go back and go over something, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for being part of my community. Thank you so much for betting on yourself. This isn't about me. This is about you. This is about you saying that 2026 is going to be the year that you change and really, really taking that by the horns. I am so proud of you, and no matter where you start or how you start, as long as you get started, I promise you 2026 is going to be your best year yet. Bye. See you.